The world is not on track to reach the education for all goals. 68 million children still were out of school in the year 2008. In sub-Saharan Africa, 10 million children drop out of primary school every year. Some 796 million adults lack basic literary skills. 2/3 of these are women. Enrollment has increased, but far too many students still leave school with minimal reading and numeracy skills. The global economic crisis is taking a toll on education budgets. At the same time, aid levels are not meeting the commitments made in 2005. Development assistance to basic education has stagnated for the first time since 2008. Aid to sub-Saharan Africa has in fact fallen. These problems are exacerbated in areas affected by conflict. Armed conflict is robbing 28 million children of the chance to follow primary education, which represents over 40% of the world's total out-of-school population. Natural disasters also weigh heavily, from Haiti to Japan. Our deep sympathies go to families and communities affected by these catastrophes. Let me mention that UNESCO and Japan have a unique history of cooperation. Japan is ardently committed to education for all and is a steadfast supporter of UNESCO's programs. Allow me to take this opportunity to express UNESCO solidarity with the people of Japan and our readiness to stand by the government in the recovery process. In Haiti, over 1 year after the earthquake, we are directly engaged in rebuilding the education system. It is one of the strongest demands of the Haitian people. We know today also where we fall short. All countries are struggling to improve quality. All are fighting to prevent students from dropping out of the system. Every government wishes students to have the right skills and competencies. We all agree technical and vocational education and training must get higher priority. We agree on the need for smoother transitions from home or preschool to primary, from primary to secondary, from secondary to higher, and from school to work. 20 years after Jom 10, we also know more about what works. It is not enough today to look at total numbers on enrollment, gender gaps, literacy rates, or dropouts. We need to identify who is missing out and why, and we need to gear our efforts towards reaching each and every missing child, young person, and adult. Ladies and gentlemen, the stakes are higher with the global economic crisis. We face new constraints precisely at a time when we need a substantial increase in commitment and resources. This year, 2011, must be a new turning point. For this, we must untangle several policy knots. First, the equity knot. Inequalities linked to wealth, gender, ethnicity, language, location, and disability are holding back progress. Despite economic constraints, governments must increase access and improve the affordability of education for excluded groups. Schools should be brought closer to marginalized communities. Second chance programs must be developed along with social protection programs with a record in improving school retention. Educating girls and women must be a priority. Girls' schooling carries a cascade of lifetime benefits for individuals, families, and societies as a whole. The weak link of girls' secondary education deserves special priority. Conflict is another major source of inequality. Around 1/3 of the world's 69 million out-of-school children live in only 20 conflict-affected countries. UNESCO's 2011 Global Monitoring Report makes a strong case for tackling the impact of conflict on education. Addressing exclusion must start with early childhood care and education. This is a second policy knot to be untangled. Early programs are highly effective in combating marginalization, malnutrition, and poverty. The years between 0 and 3 are especially critical for the development of learning skills. This means working closely with the health sector to ensure better nutrition and health while providing intellectual stimulation. This calls also for stronger attention to the first 2 classes in primary school. UNESCO brought these messages to the First World Conference on Early Childhood Care and Education held in Moscow last September, which some 60 ministers of education attended. And then quality, which is the next policy not to be tackled. And here, all countries are concerned. Addressing test scores is important, but not give the full picture. We have to understand the causes that lead to dropout, poor learning outcomes, and inequalities. Enhancing quality means revising approaches to teaching, learning, and curriculum development. It means improving the learning environment as a whole. Teachers are vital. Teacher education and training, recruitment and retention have to become national priorities. Innovation is another policy not to be undone. Is education responding to the complex demands of globalization? Are we harnessing the potential of information and communication technology, which is so radically changing how we learn, communicate, work, obtain, and share information? I do not think these questions have been fully answered yet. We must make more of the potential of information and communication technology. Teachers, again, are key. Professional development programs for practicing teachers and programs for training new teachers must be tailored in this direction. Public-private partnerships are vital here, especially to harness new technologies, to widen access and increase quality. The High-Level Broadband Commission for Digital Development that UNESCO launched last year with the International Telecommunication Union is an excellent example of partnership between the public and private sectors. Our objective is to support global broadband rollout in ways that are linked to inclusive education. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, education is a force multiplier for reaching all of the Millennium Development Goals. We must make our case more persuasively with key interlocutors, with the G20 and at the ECOSOC annual ministerial review meeting this summer. This means also the Education for All convening agencies must work more efficiently. To this end, I have initiated regular dialogue with the heads and senior officials of agencies. A first such meeting was held in New York last November. I hope we will meet next during the ECOSOC annual ministerial review meeting in July. We are seeking also to improve the effectiveness of education for all coordination, in line with the recommendation of the 9th high-level group meeting in Addis Ababa last February. For a start, we need to strengthen the flow of information between the national, regional, and global levels. There are many positive lessons from experience at national and regional levels. This must be transferred across regions and to the global level. This calls for stronger relations between coordination mechanisms at different levels, and it demands better links with global initiatives related to education for all and education-specific Millennium Development Goals. The high-level group on education for all must also become a sharper instrument, more persuasive in mobilizing political support, more effective in developing partnerships. A smaller meeting held at higher level with a sharper working group could help us move in these directions. This message in our joint statement must resonate. We must renew with the spirit that drove Jomtien 20 years ago, and we must restore a sense of urgency for all to reach our goals. High challenges remain before us. We must mobilize to overcome them and to lay the foundations for a new, sharper agenda to follow 2015. Thank you all for your support. Thank you, Your Royal Highness.
คุณผู้ชมคะที่จบไปเมื่อสักครู่นี้นะคะเป็นการกราบบังคมทูลถวายรายงานของคุณอิรินาโบโควาเลขาธิการองค์การสหประชาชาติค่ะซึ่งก็ได้กราบบังคมทูลถวายรายงานไว้ดังนี้ค่ะ
มีนักเรียนปัจจุบันนี้นะคะมีนักเรียนส่วนมากที่ได้ดรอปเอาท์จากโรงเรียนเพราะฉะนั้นสิ่งที่สำคัญที่สุดคือต้องช่วยกันพัฒนากุญแจสำคัญที่จะช่วยกันพัฒนาได้ก็คือครูต้องเพิ่มช่วยกันสอนและเทคนิคแล้วก็ให้มีการพัฒนาทางด้านวิชาชีพค่ะ
as the key to alleviating poverty, enhancing human security, and building longer-term resilience in the face of global change. This belief also drives our commitment to achieving the Education for All goals by 2015. In 1990, at Jomtien Beach in Pattaya, Thailand, we hosted the widely acknowledged World Conference on Education for All. This culminated in a global commitment by 155 countries to providing quality education to all children, youth, and adults. A decade later, in 2000, to heighten that resolve, clear objectives were identified and articulated in 6 Education for All goals. A total of 164 countries attending the World Education Forum in Dhaka, Senegal in 2000 pledged to work towards the achievement of those goals. In doing this, we have focused on early childhood care and education, universal primary education, adult learning and life skills, literacy, gender equality, and quality education for national and global development. The high-level group on Education for All was set up to serve as a mechanism for coordination. It meets annually to ensure that political support, as well as financial and technical resources, remain focused on achievement of the goals. This year, it is our privilege and pleasure to co-host this 10th meeting together with UNESCO. It is the first time that the high-level group has met in one of the Southeast Asian cluster countries. Indeed, it is fitting that we are returning to Jomtien, Pattaya, 20 years after the EFA agenda was launched here. On this auspicious occasion, I wish to welcome to Thailand all distinguished ministers, vice ministers, and high officials for education, representatives from international, regional, and national development agencies, UN agencies, as well as Education for All partners from the private sector and civil society. Together, we will identify strategic and operational initiatives to address remaining challenges to tackle key education issues between now and 2015. We have come a long way, but of course, we will think for the future beyond 2015. Country and regional reports indicate that increasing access to basic educational services in many cases has taken precedence over quality improvements. Quality must not be dependent upon the country where a person is born. Moreover, there should neither be discrepancy between urban and rural areas, nor discrimination as a result of family background, physical or mental capacity, religion, or ethnicity.